When someone says paramotor, people generally think of the backpack-style flying machine that someone just runs up into the air with. And then when somebody says trike, people think of a similar contraption that you can take off and land using its wheels. That said, both are paramotors. There are also variations that have four wheels that are referred to as quads, and we can kind of group those into the trike category. I won't be making any sort of recommendations on this video because it's not a promotion. The goal for this video is to get you closer to knowing which type of paramotor is best for you. I never thought I'd want wheels when I first heard about paramotors. I'd seen some of the videos scattered throughout the sea of foot launching content on YouTube, but at that time I overlooked them because I was already set on having a foot launch unit. Little did I know, I would grow to have this deep admiration for wheeled paramotors. Today, I own both the backpack-style flying paramotor as well as a trike paramotor, and I could never see myself without my foot launch unit, but I'd never want to imagine myself without my trike. Meaning, my foot launch unit is and has been my primary flying style for reasons that I'll soon explain, but my trike is something that currently I see as a luxury since I'm physically capable of foot launching still at this time. Make no mistake though, one is not better than the other. Right off the bat, trikes are more expensive because there is more material used in the manufacturing of them. For example, the backpack paramotors that I've owned have ranged from $5,500 up to $8,250. The trike that I owned has a starting cost of $13,200. However, there are smaller models that are designed for solo flying that can cost a lot less. Point being, trikes cost more, and that may make a difference to you. But when it comes to the physical demand of the pilot, there is a big difference. Trikes are a lot less taxing on your body. Even skilled individuals who fly the backpack version of a paramotor can't avoid those heavy loads from a landing, even if they land gracefully every time. Over time, it will take a toll on the pilot's back and knees, and when learning to fly, trainees often make these little mistakes that result in falling down during a takeoff or a landing because their legs simply can't keep up. If you're physically fit, you may be able to take a spill and get back on the horse. However, the majority of folks coming into the sport are older because not too many youngsters have $13,000 to put towards a hobby. That being the case, physical fitness is more important when it comes to flying the backpack foot launch version of a paramotor. Though technically, foot launching can increase your leg strength over time, the impact and the compression forces of a heavy back-mounted unit will create some sort of degenerative condition in the discs of your spine and in your knees. And because of this, someone who experiences any sort of chronic pain anywhere along their lower extremities should strongly consider a trike. But just how practical are the two versions of these paramotors? Unless you live on this really large piece of land that you can safely launch and land a trike from, a backpack version of a paramotor will likely be more practical since transporting a trike generally is challenging. The trike that I own requires another person to help me lift it and lower it into and out of my truck. Transporting my backpack paramotor is easier, faster, and most importantly, I can do it all on my own. I can also transport my paramotor in other ways that are even faster than using my truck. More often than not, I just jump onto my ATV or ride my electric scooter with the paramotor on my back. And depending where you live, you may be able to taxi your trike from your garage out to the field that you fly from. Many trikes, to include my own, can also partially be disassembled to fit inside of an enclosed trailer. This does take quite a bit of time though, time you could be spending with your family or the time you could be spending flying for that matter. The other option is to have a wide enough flatbed trailer that you could simply roll your trike onto, but still then you're taking additional time to connect a trailer to your vehicle. Part of the convenience of having a backpack unit is because you can literally just grab it and go. As mentioned earlier, having a large flyable piece of property is ideal for either version of paramotors, though that's uncommon. Flying with a passenger is possible with both versions of these paramotors as well, but it's unquestionably easier to fly a paramotor using a trike. The backpack foot launch versions can be equipped with this long bar that extends in front of the pilot that a passenger can then clip into. Because the pilot and passenger are so close to each other, the takeoff and the landing can be and often is very difficult. If takeoffs are the most challenging part of flying a paramotor, imagine needing to avoid tripping on a passenger's feet while running forward, releasing the A-lines as the glider comes up, and then catching the surge, and then making slight direction changes so that the glider stays perfectly overhead, and then rolling onto power. When you own a trike designed for taking up another person, you take off the same way you would as if you didn't have a passenger. It's much easier. Imagine that you're coming in for a landing with your own mother on board. It's not uncommon that a paramotor lands at a speed that would require you to land exceptionally fast. People occasionally fall down at those higher speeds. Still, some people manage to pull it off, but there's no arguing that taking off and landing with a passenger when you have wheels is not only easier but safer as well. How about when it comes to flying by yourself? This subtopic is a bit more subjective. As for me, I have a love-hate relationship with using my legs as the landing gear, though it may not be the case for others my age. I occasionally feel this sharp pain on my feet when I land. This is especially true during the colder times of year. Also, wearing a backpack that weighs upwards of 70 to 80 pounds with fuel in it is exhausting, especially when it's hot outside. I've witnessed new pilots fail attempt after attempt as sweat rolls off the tip of their nose. That, however, is just part of the learning process. And for me and many others, it may be worth pushing through that physically demanding learning curve because of all the advantages that a foot launch unit has over wheeled paramotors. Foot launch paramotors are capable of taking off in smaller areas because they get into the air in a shorter distance than wheeled paramotors. Trikes use the thrust generated by the propeller to inflate the wing. Simultaneously, that same thrust accelerates the trike forward until it has the airspeed necessary to take off. Trikes are heavier, so acceleration is generally slower, whereas a foot launch paramotor takes off faster than a trike because it reaches that necessary airspeed in order to counteract the forces of gravity much sooner than a trike. All that said, you should fly from a location that is much bigger than you actually need, whether you're piloting a foot launch unit or a trike. Foot launch paramotors and trike paramotors handle very similarly in the air. However, foot launch paramotors typically come with this design feature called swing arms that can allow the pilot to feel more connected to the glider. Trikes don't have this feature unless you get a hybrid version of the trike that possesses some of the features that are similar to the foot launch unit. If you're interested in those, let me know in the comments and I'll make a video on it. Since trikes are heavier than foot launch units, they're typically flown with a larger glider, and larger gliders generally don't possess the same agility that's found in smaller, sportier gliders like my Dudek Warp that I have. Keep in mind, not everyone wants to fly aggressive. In fact, most paramotor pilots fly conservatively on gliders that don't behave like a bat out of hell. What my trike affords me is a very relaxing experience in the air where I can just soak up the views, free of worry about whether my landing is going to hurt my legs or not. Most of all, I love touch and goes. I feel so accomplished every time I squeak in a gentle landing. The foot launch paramotor is so easy just to grab and go at a moment's notice, and I appreciate the increased sensation that I get of the glider through its swing arms, and the price tag is a little bit more friendly too. If you're in top-notch shape, I suggest getting a foot launch unit while you still have your youth about you. Avoid getting a foot launch unit simply because they're more affordable. If you're in top-notch shape, I suggest getting a foot launch unit while you still have your youth about you. Avoid getting a foot launch unit simply because they're more affordable, because if you have a physical ailment that can get worse by using one, you're probably going to regret it. Trikes are incredible. Foot launch units are incredible. I hope you found the information in this video to be useful in your decision moving forward. If you have anything else that you'd like to know about them, please leave it in the comments. There are a lot of awesome active pilots that float around in the comments, and I'm sure they'd be happy to offer their objective responses. Please click the like button if you did in fact enjoy the video, and subscribe to learn more on the greatest flying machines ever known to mankind. Much love, y'all.